Hello, everyone. You know, when we hear the word purchasing, it's easy to think of just buying stuff. But today, we're going to look way beyond that simple transaction. We're going to dive into purchasing as a core strategic function, something that can quite literally determine a company's success or failure. To really get us started, just think about this for a second. On one hand, you've got a company ordering pens and paper for the office. Pretty straightforward, right? On the other hand, you have an airline making a multi-billion-dollar deal for a new fleet of aircraft. Both are technically purchasing, but they are worlds apart. Understanding that difference, well, that's our entire goal today.
And that really brings us to the main idea here. In today's business world, getting your purchasing strategy right isn't just some boring administrative task. No, it's a fundamental pillar of success. It affects everything: your costs, your quality, your ability to innovate, you name it.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll really lock in what we mean by strategic function. Then, we're going to build out our purchasing toolkit, learning how to classify both physical goods and services. After that, we'll get into the different situations you'll face when buying, and finally, we'll put it all together with a really cool case study from a company called Aurora Robots.
So modern purchasing is really about making smart, informed decisions. It's not just clicking add to cart. You have to think about three key things: what exactly is being bought, how it's going to be used, and the situation surrounding the purchase. It's about shifting from just reacting and ordering to being proactive and strategic. So, the first part of building our toolkit is learning how to classify the physical things a company buys. You can think of these as the fundamental building blocks for pretty much any production process. Let's break down the main categories, and we'll use some solid Canadian examples to make it stick. First up, you have your raw materials. These are the most basic inputs. Think of a steel manufacturer in Hamilton buying iron ore. Then you have supplementary materials. Now, these don't end up in the final product, but you can't get the job done without them. A great example is the stretch wrap used to secure pallets at a food packaging plant. And finally, we have semi-manufactured products, items that have been processed a bit but still need more work, like pre-cut wooden boards arriving at a furniture maker in Quebec.
Now, this next distinction is absolutely crucial. We have components on one side and finished products on the other. Components are things like microchips that get put into a larger product without being changed. That's totally different from finished products, which are bought for one reason: to be resold as is. A perfect everyday example: Canadian Tire buying power tools from a brand just to put them on their shelves to sell to you.
And last but not least, we have two other major categories. First, investment goods. These are the big-ticket items, the high-value assets that aren't used up right away, like that new fleet of aircraft. Their value gets depreciated over many years. Then you have MRO items. That stands for maintenance, repair, and operating materials. Honestly, these are the unsung heroes of any operation: the lubricants, the safety gloves, the cleaning supplies. They don't end up in the final product, but without them, the whole factory would just grind to a halt.
Of course, it's not all about physical stuff. I mean, think about how much companies outsource these days. Purchasing intangible services is a massive part of supply chain management. And you know what? It brings a whole different set of challenges to the table.
Now, what's so powerful here is the side-by-side comparison. You've got your regular services, routine things, lots of suppliers, like hiring a cleaning crew for your office. But on the other side, you have specialized services. These are unique, they're critical, and they demand a ton of expertise. Think about a major Canadian bank hiring a top firm for a cybersecurity audit. The strategic importance is off the charts, which means the process for buying that service has to be way more rigorous. Get that decision wrong, and the consequences could be catastrophic.
So we've covered the what a company buys, both goods and services. Now we need to add the next layer to our toolkit: understanding how a company buys. Because the situation itself, the context of the purchase, completely changes the complexity, the risk, and the effort involved. It really boils down to three main situations, and you can think of them as a scale of increasing complexity. At the simple end, you have the straight rebuy. This is routine, low risk, often automated. Think of a coffee shop just reordering the same beans every week. In the middle, there's the modified rebuy. You're buying something again, but maybe you want to change the specs, negotiate a better price, or even try a new supplier. And at the far end, the most complex is the new buy. This is a first-time purchase, and it is loaded with risk and requires a ton of research. The takeaway here is simple but powerful. As complexity goes up, so does risk.
All right, enough theory. We've built the foundation of our toolkit. Now it's time to put it to the test, to see how it works in the real world. We're going to dive into a sourcing challenge at Aurora Robotics, a Canadian company that makes some seriously high-tech robotic arms.
So here's the scenario. Imagine you're in the purchasing department at Aurora Robotics,
and you've been handed a list of things the company needs to buy. Your challenge is simple. Take this list and correctly classify each item using the categories we've just learned. You ready? Let's do this.
Okay, first on the list, robotic arm grippers. These are pre-assembled units. They arrive at the factory and are simply bolted onto the end of the robotic arm. That's it, no other modifications. So take a second. What category does that fall into? If you said components, you absolutely nailed it. And this is a perfect illustration of the definition, right? It's a manufactured good, it's incorporated into a larger system, and there are no further physical changes made to it. Fits perfectly. Excellent. All right, let's keep it moving. Next up is a regular order of lubricant for the big casting machines on the factory floor. It keeps everything running smoothly, but it's not actually part of the robots they sell. So, what do we call this?
This one is a textbook example of an MRO item: maintenance, repair, and operating materials. Just like the justification says, it's essential for keeping the company's equipment in working order, but it never becomes part of the final product. And for our final item, we've got a big one, a brand new state-of-the-art 3D printer for the research and development team. And look at that value, over $150,000. Think about its purpose, its value, and its lifespan in the company. How would you classify it?
You got it. This is an investment good. It's a major piece of capital equipment. And that definition is key. It's a high-value product, it's not consumed right away, and its cost is going to be depreciated over its long, useful life. It's a strategic asset for the company's future.
So after going through that exercise, what's the big lesson here? It all comes down to this simple but profound idea: understanding what you're buying, whether it's a component, an MRO item, or a massive investment good. That is the critical first step in deciding how you should go about buying it. That simple component, probably a straight rebuy. That huge investment good, that is always going to be a new buy.
And that leads me to one final question for you to really think about. Based on everything we've just discussed, which one of those purchasing situations, the straight rebuy, the modified rebuy, or the new buy, which one poses the biggest financial risk to a company? And more importantly, why? Think about the time, the people, the uncertainty, and the potential for a very costly mistake in each of those scenarios. Because understanding that risk, that is what strategic purchasing is all about.